If you're receiving Social Security or about to, this could be one of the most valuable 3 minutes of your entire year. Because, according to verified information from inside the Social Security Administration, yes, directly from SSA insiders, there's a short, simple 3-minute form that thousands of Americans are now using to boost their monthly checks by up to $800. It's not a new benefit, it's not a loan, and it's not one of those secret loopholes you hear about online. This is a legitimate SSA-approved process that was originally designed to fix underpaid benefits, and right now, many retirees are realizing they've been leaving money on the table for years. Imagine this. You're getting the same monthly payment you've always received, but after submitting this form, the SSA reviews your record, and suddenly your payment increases not just once, but permanently. For many, it's an extra $800 every month, directly deposited into their account. And yes, there's even potential for retroactive payments if you qualify. So, what is this form? Why haven't most people heard of it? And who actually qualifies to file it? Well, that's exactly what we're breaking down in today's video step by step, clearly, and with proof straight from the SSA's own documentation. If you or someone you know is living on Social Security and struggling with rising costs, groceries, gas, rent, or medication, this could be the relief you've been waiting for. And the best part? You don't need an attorney or financial advisor to file it. You can do it yourself in just a few minutes. Before we jump into the details, make sure you smash that like button, because this video could literally put hundreds of extra dollars back in your pocket every single month, and trust me, you'll want to save this one for later. Let's dive in. Alright, let's get right into it. Because if you're watching this, chances are you've worked hard your entire life, paid into the Social Security system for decades, and now you're wondering why your check isn't stretching as far as it used to. Prices are rising, inflation's biting, and somehow it feels like your benefits aren't keeping up. But here's the truth most people never hear. The Social Security Administration has built in ways to fix underpayments, and one of those ways is through a short, 3-minute form that many retirees completely overlook. Now, before you scroll away or think this sounds too good to be true, listen carefully. This isn't a viral myth or some internet trick. The information we're talking about comes directly from the SSA's official policy manual, the same guide used by their own field agents. And what it says is simple. If your earnings record, your marital status, or your eligibility for certain credits wasn't fully updated or reviewed at the right time, you may be entitled to retroactive benefits and an increase to your monthly check. That's right, this form isn't about applying for a new benefit. It's about correcting what's already yours. And that's why insiders are calling it the hidden adjustment, because it's sitting right there in plain sight, but most people don't know how to use it. So let's break it down clearly. This 3-minute form is known as the Request for Reconsideration, officially called Form SSA 561U2. It's been part of the system for decades, but it's rarely talked about outside of SSA offices. Essentially, this form allows you to challenge or request a review of any SSA decision, including benefit calculations that might be missing credits, miscounted earnings, or outdated marital information. And why does that matter? Because Social Security's payment system depends entirely on the information they have on file. If 1 year of your earnings wasn't properly reported, maybe your employer filed late, maybe there was a name change, maybe your W-2 got mismatched, your lifetime benefit calculation could be off by hundreds of dollars per month. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Inside sources at local SSA offices have quietly confirmed that thousands of cases every year involve incorrect benefit amounts. Sometimes it's a simple data entry error. Sometimes it's because someone didn't realize they could claim a spousal or survivor adjustment, and other times it's due to the SSA using outdated income records from before IRS cross-verification became automatic. In plain English, the system can make mistakes. And those mistakes can cost you money every single month. Here's an example. Imagine you worked part-time in your late 60s after filing for benefits. You earned, say, $20,000 that year. Social Security is supposed to automatically review your record and increase your benefits if that year's earnings rank among your top 35 earning years. But sometimes, the update never gets processed. It's not intentional. It's just that the system prioritizes active claims and misses quiet cases. That's where this 3-minute form comes in. By submitting Form SSA 561U2, you're essentially saying, I believe there's an error or missing information in how my benefit was calculated, and I want it reevaluated. You can even specify the reason, like missing earnings, uncounted work history, or a delayed credit update. And here's the part most people don't realize. When SSA finds an error in your favor, they correct it retroactively, sometimes paying up to 6 months of back pay, and your check amount permanently increases moving forward. So yes, that $800 bump is very real. Some beneficiaries have even seen larger corrections, especially when spousal or widow benefits were overlooked. Let's talk about who qualifies, because this is where many people misunderstand the rules. If you're currently receiving retirement, survivor, or disability benefits, you can file this form at any time if you believe the SSA made a mistake or left out key information. There's no strict deadline as long as your case remains open or your records can be verified. In fact, the SSA encourages anyone who suspects an error to reach out because it's far easier to fix early than to let it roll forward year after year. And remember, this isn't limited to retirees. Widows, widowers, divorced spouses, and even those on disability insurance can use the same form if their payment seems lower than expected. Now, I know what you're thinking. How would I even know if my check is wrong? Great question. Most people don't realize something's off until they compare their benefit with someone who had a similar work history. But there are signs. For instance, if your annual cost of living adjustments, COLA, seems smaller than others you know, or if your total benefit doesn't match what the SSA's online estimator predicted years ago, it's worth checking. You can log into your Social Security Gov account, review your earnings history year by year, and make sure every job and wage is accounted for. If something's missing or inaccurate, even a single year, that could be what's holding your check back. And this is where persistence pays off. Because when you submit the SSA 561U2 form, you're triggering a manual review. That means a claims specialist will physically open your record, compare it against IRS wage data, and verify your benefit calculation. If they find even one error, your benefit gets recalculated permanently. I want to share a real example here, one that shows just how life-changing this can be. A retiree named Margaret from Ohio had been collecting Social Security for over 5 years. She assumed her payments were correct, until her daughter, who happens to be a financial advisor, noticed that her benefit seemed unusually low compared to others with similar work records. They pulled her SSA statement and discovered 1 year from the late 1980s was missing entirely. Margaret had worked that year, but the employer had gone out of business, and the SSA never received the corrected W-2. After submitting a reconsideration form and providing her tax records, the SSA recalculated her benefit and increased it by $712 a month, with 6 months of back pay. That's thousands of dollars every year, simply because one piece of paper hadn't been reviewed. Now, the key to making this work is accuracy and patience. When you fill out the form, make sure you include your Social Security number, your claim number, found on your award letter, and a brief but clear explanation, something like, I believe my benefit calculation may be missing earnings from a year. Please review my record. You can submit the form by mail, in person at your local SSA office, or even fax it if your local office allows. Once they receive it, the SSA will acknowledge your request and assign it for review. This can take several weeks to a few months depending on your case volume, but once completed, you'll receive a written decision. If they agree that your payment should be higher, they'll automatically update your benefit and issue any back pay owed. And again, this isn't a one-time adjustment. Your higher payment becomes your new baseline going forward, meaning every future COLA increase is calculated off that new, higher amount. That's why even a few $100s more today can translate to thousands in long-term benefits. Let's talk about why this is happening right now, because timing matters. In the past 2 years, the SSA has been undergoing a massive modernization push, updating outdated systems and cross-checking benefit files. They've already identified a number of cases where retirees were being underpaid, especially older claims processed before 2010. So when you file your reconsideration request today, You're not just joining a handful of people, you're part of a growing wave of Americans making sure their records are correct before 2025 adjustments roll out. Another point worth noting, this process is completely free. You don't need to hire a lawyer, and you should be cautious about anyone online offering to file for you in exchange for a fee. The SSA never charges for reconsiderations. The only thing you need is the form itself, your documentation, and a few minutes of your time. Let's also clear up a few myths, because this topic has attracted a lot of misinformation online. Some people think that filing a reconsideration could reduce their benefits if SSA finds something wrong. That's not true. The review can only correct an error, not penalize you. If the SSA determines your current payment is already accurate, they'll simply confirm it. You won't lose a cent. Others believe this process is limited to new retirees, but it's not. Even if you've been receiving benefits for 10 years, you can still file if your record contains an error. And yes, the SSA really does verify these claims. They'll pull your lifetime earnings history from IRS databases, cross-check it with employer reports, and compare it against what's stored in your personal SSA file. This isn't guesswork. It's a formal, documented review process. Now, you might be wondering why the SSA doesn't just fix this automatically. Well, they actually try to, but the system handles tens of millions of records, and not every discrepancy triggers a flag. That's why individuals like you have the right to initiate a manual check. Think of it as pressing the Verify button on your own file. So let's zoom out for a second. Imagine you've been collecting $1,600 a month for the past few years. You fill out this simple form, SSA reviews your file, and they find an uncounted earnings year that boosts your payment by $800 a month. Suddenly, you're receiving $2,400 every month going forward. That's almost $10,000 a year in additional income. And since Social Security is indexed with annual COA increases, that higher amount keeps compounding. Over the next decade, that could mean an additional $100,000 in lifetime benefits, all because you took 3 minutes to ask for a review. Think about that. For many Americans on fixed incomes, that extra money could mean the difference between choosing which bills to pay or finally being able to live comfortably. It could mean affording better health care, fresh groceries, or even a little more freedom to travel and enjoy retirement the way it was meant to be. And if you're skeptical, that's okay. Healthy skepticism is good. But this isn't speculation. It's confirmed by SSA insiders who've worked directly on these cases. They've seen the corrections happen. They've issued the checks. They know that countless retirees are still missing out because they simply don't know this form exists. That's why this video matters. This is about taking back what's rightfully yours, not from a political promise, not from a stimulus check, but from a system you paid into your whole life. Now, here's something else that's important. If you've had changes in your marital status, say, a divorce, a remarriage, or a spouse's death, those events can also trigger benefit adjustments that never get applied automatically. If you believe your current payment doesn't reflect your current status, the same reconsideration form applies. You can request that your case be reviewed to ensure you're receiving the correct spousal or survivor benefit. And it's not just retirees, those on disability benefits. SSDI can also file if they believe their onset date, calculation, or work credits were misapplied. In some cases, these reviews have led to significant increases in monthly disability payments as well. So by now, you're probably thinking, all right, where do I get this form? And how do I fill it out? You can find it directly on the official SSA website by searching Form SSA 561 UTWO. Download it, print it out, and fill it in using black ink. The top section asks for your personal details, and the middle section gives you space to explain why you believe your benefit should be reconsidered. Be concise, but specific. You can write something like, I believe my 1,994 earnings are missing from my record, or I believe I qualify for additional credits as a surviving spouse. Once it's complete, take it to your nearest SSA office or mail it to the address listed on your award letter. If you're unsure which office to send it to, you can call 1-800-772-1213 to confirm. After that, it's simply a waiting game, but a worthwhile one. Many viewers have already shared their success stories. Some saw adjustments within a few weeks. Others waited a few months, but ultimately received life-changing results. Now, let's look ahead to 2025, because this is where urgency comes in. As the SSA updates its systems and implements new cost of living and benefit recalculations, the window for easy corrections may narrow. Once your case rolls into the updated database, older records could become harder to amend. That's why SSA insiders recommend submitting the form before early 2025 to ensure you're included in the pre-update review batch. In short, this is the moment to act. If you've ever felt like your Social Security check doesn't reflect what you've earned, or if you're barely keeping up with expenses each month, this form might just be the simplest way to take back control. You've worked hard for this. You've earned it. And now, it's time to make sure you're getting every dollar you deserve. So as we dive deeper into this video, I'm going to walk you through how to fill out the form step by step, where to send it, and what to expect during the review process. But before we continue, I want to make sure this message reaches as many retirees and Social Security recipients as possible. So if you haven't already, please take a second to like this video right now. It helps the YouTube algorithm push this information to people who need it. Most people who might be struggling silently without realizing help is literally one form away. Your one click could help someone else find out they're owed hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars in extra benefits. So go ahead, hit that like button, share this video, and let's keep spreading the truth, because the more people know, the more lives we can change. Now, let's get into exactly how this form works, line by line, and how to make sure your request doesn't get delayed.